So, what I'm going to talk to you about today is government, industry, research and community collaboration creating Waterwise outcomes, and the principles and the aligned values. And that's really what I'm going to centre on in terms of making it work between 11 agencies with really different, sometimes drivers and legislation and priorities. And just a reminder that when we're talking about Waterwise, and everyone in this room already gets it, and I loved Martin's language of blue-green equals water sensitive, right? And we don't necessarily equate those things, but they're exactly the same thing. So it's what we're talking about here, and it does build climate resilience for keeping our communities livable, which is what we're trying to achieve, right? So super quickly, I think all of us know this stuff. Don't need to tell you about rainfall. Certainly don't need to tell you about population growth and the drivers for those 2,000 new lots in Wanneroo every year, and also our loss of wetlands. So all of that information very easily found. It is a 10-year journey. We're entering into the halfway point. It started back in 2019 with this, the Waterwise Perth Action Plan. Those drivers were at the centre of it, and it was a response to climate change in a growing city. Sorry, because I keep moving away from the microphone.
It's all right, we'll do that.
Yes, sure. Free range, free range. Some of you will be aware of that plan. 38 actions by 8 agencies, and that's where we started. 2-year plan concluded in late 2021. Our birthday is always National Water Week, so that's how we roll. And just recently, we won the Organisational Excellence Award at the AWA. That was for that first plan, but it's really for the whole lot. And the reason why I put this up is not just to humble brag or to, overtly brag, but actually to say, all of you, especially Water Sensitive Transition Network, all of the agencies, it was absolutely a collaborative effort. So this was not just Department of Water and Environmental Regulation and Water Corp, who obviously we led that work, but it was for everyone. So that's what that's for. This is a nod to the Water Sensitive Cities Benchmarking Index, just to say that collaboratively, this is a collaborative process that we go through every 5 years to look at how we're going as a water sensitive city. And so we are guided by this. This is a CRC for Water Sensitive Cities tool, and we do use it as a bit of a guiding light. I can go into that in more detail, but many of you have seen this and we've talked about it. However, we did use this very clearly as a way to inform the next plan. So rolling 2-year plans, 10-year program. Vision, Booloo and Bindrub as leading Waterwise communities. So what this told us was that we were not doing as well on improving ecological health or ensuring quality urban space as we wanted to be in order to reach our vision. So for the next plan, we really made it a step change, and we really stretched the boundaries of what we were seeking to achieve, and we brought on 3 new partner agencies. DBCA, I'm looking at you, Emma, who has brought so much game to this plan, have really helped us to address that whole function, the green part of the green-blue as well. And so also DPERD joined us, and Department of Education. So we really stretched into this second plan, 41 actions, but these then elevated to being really programmatic actions. So under each of these sits programs of work that are collectively and jointly delivered by the agencies. 41 actions, 11 government agencies, so a much bigger proposition. I wish we'd been able to successfully say that it was a 3-year plan rather than a 2-year plan, but it's a 2-year plan, which means we're writing Waterwise 3 right now. After only just feels like having done so much work to get this one up. So what runs through all of the plans are this idea of the 4 delivery scales. So we start with household and building, which is your efficiencies and your behavioural stuff. Precinct and suburb is all about how we design our urban spaces. And local governments, this is where you are just crucial, right? And this is where you really make such a difference to our urban form and to everything that we achieve through this plan. The city and urban is about how we create our policies and our drivers to make that stuff happen on the ground, and a lot of our investigations and such as well. And then you can see the green bit is government leading. So when we first were scoping the first plan, we heard very strongly from particularly the private sector that, you know, we'll show you yours after you've shown us, we'll show you ours after you've shown us yours. So government, we want to see you doing the stuff that you're asking us to do. And we said, okay, government leading then. So we did that, we took on that challenge. And so that's where you've heard about 115 Hamilton Hill, you've heard about those kinds of urban developments, they sit in that space. And the difference between the first and the second plan was we increased that government leading by a third in terms of the number of actions sitting in there. So that scale is where all of the other actions come together to really be delivered as a whole. So what we did between the first and the second plan was we increased that collaboration and we increased, you know, how we were working together. So now I'm going to talk to you about principles, because apart from the governance, which I'm happy to talk to any of you about, the number of working groups and steering committees and things that we have. And don't get me wrong, that really does help to make things work. It's a cabinet endorsed document. But in terms of working with everyone across all sectors, for local governments, it's less important if it's a cabinet endorsed document or not. For stakeholders in community, less important. So that helps us as 11 agencies to work together really well and to keep ourselves aligned. And also it means that our ministers have signed off in cabinet that they're going to deliver this work. So that's a really useful mechanism. However, the thing that really keeps us together, I think, is this shared agreement towards this 2030 vision and these principles. And I would really say that in going forward into this really difficult space of urban greening, in terms of there's a lot of willingness here, but we all know that it's the private land and the private development that we need to tackle. And so I would suggest that a principles-based approach or a values-based approach. Emma, I'm looking at you in terms of we've done the Peter Cullen Trust course, and it's very much about values-led leadership and using these things as your guiding light. I would really suggest and commend to you the idea of having overarching principles to help us create the future that we need. So in the Waterwise space, what does that look like? And this also is a really helpful way for us to connect into Aboriginal values as well, because everything is connected. And we know that in Aboriginal and in most Indigenous cultures, there is a whole systemic view of the world. And you can't talk about your own health without talking about the health of the environment, or without talking about the food, which you also get from the environment. And so everything is intrinsically connected. And we know in Waterwise, in water-sensitive urban design, that is the case as well. So it's a very helpful platform to think about those things, that connectivity and the way that one thing will impact another. Sense of place as well, and I know every single local government has got up and given us such a brilliant start to their presentation by saying this is where we are. This is the soil type, this is our demographic, this is what it looks like in our place. And I think this is exceptionally important in this sense, designing for place and understanding what we're doing in this corner of the world. And so that's really fundamental to water-sensitive urban design, and it's fundamental to everything that we're doing in Waterwise as well. So these are some of the achievements. I'm not going to bore you with all of that because it's an infographic that you can find anywhere. And but what it does tell us is that actually we are making things happen. So I shouldn't downplay it, but across the 11 agencies we are creating things together, and so it is useful to talk about those things. I just tend to not so much. In terms of our whole vision and our which is leading waterwise communities for Booloo and Bindra by 2030, as you can see, we're getting towards the halfway point to that 2030. And I would say it's always really, really helpful to constantly keep going back to that, to be using that as our guiding point, because how do you keep everyone together and working in that same direction to that same point? You need to constantly have that in your mind. And it's kind of what Lisa said as well. How do you keep holding your values? You've got to just keep reminding yourself of the purpose. It's really easy in amongst 11 and 41 actions and so many different deliverables to get really bogged down in the detail, but you've always got to keep looking up and trying to remember what we're doing this for. And so you can see there, first Waterwise Perth plan, 8 agencies, 4 delivery scales, 12 program areas, and 38 actions. And so we're looking at collectively going forward along that same basis, but you can see that we've grown to 11 agencies. We've now got 41 actions in the second plan, and we're in the depths of making the third plan right now, but it's shaping up to be around about the same. The proportion of actions that are in the current plan, more than half speak to urban greening, biodiversity, tree canopy, and ecological health. Into the next plan, that will grow even more. So we'll probably increase that by about a quarter again. So what that's telling us is this is not just a water plan, this is actually a blue-green plan, and is going to be fundamental, to helping us get there. Mostly we're continuing on to just go deeper and more into the next plan, in that we grew the last one so kind of ambitiously that in this next one we're going to consolidate and just keep doing more of what we need to do. And we've only got halfway to 2030 to actually tackle the really hard problems now. So we've done really well until now, but we all know that you do the low-hanging fruit and the easiest stuff first, don't you? And whilst we're gaining momentum, we've still got the really, really hard things to do. So it's going to need more collaboration and more going forward together. Yep, these are all the agencies that are involved. So you can see us all there. Big props, particularly to Water Corp, who is just constantly there for us, with us. Even though we, as the department, also have a regulatory function and a regulatory hat, in this space we are more colleagues with Water Corp. And so we're careful, obviously, of making sure that we know which hat we're wearing at which point. But yeah, we absolutely could not be delivering this if it wasn't a water portfolio approach, which it absolutely is, and it's become an across-government approach. So, yep, our goals can only be reached by continued cross-government collaboration. So absolutely fundamental to everything we're doing. So I always urge people within my department and in other departments as well, use this as a vehicle, right? Get things done through this plan for yourself, for the work that you want to see get done. This is systems change in practice. The reason we got that award is because no one works in this way, apparently. Also quite sobering. So use this as a way. Hook whatever you can onto it. We've got a water plan at state government level. We've got another 5 years of commitment to doing this. And it really is, it's a good vehicle that we've got at our disposal. So I would really say it's an opportunity for sharing, replicating, aligning. It provides value. It's been proven to do so far, and it can only continue to do so. So use Waterwise as part of the solution to our biggest urban challenges. And our friends here from DPLH, we're with you there for the UGS, no problem. We're there, the blue and green, alongside you. All right, thank you.